What up, VOD watchers? It's time for the reading extravaganza right now. I be reading and shit, dude. Go ahead and continue from where we left off, right? How these things work. Well, episode 3. The Adventure of the Runaway Room?
Glancing over my records of the late last century, I am faced by the events of a certain bitter winter.
At the beginning is...
A murder in a carriage as it sped through dense London fog in the dead of night. Though the victim and the perpetrator were the only ones inside, there were multiple witnesses to the crime itself. However, none could have imagined at the time that such a seemingly obvious case as this would end in such a horrendous manner. My friend, Mr. Herlock Jones,
He's back.
once said of the incident, "I believe that perhaps that case was indeed the prelude. The beginning of a long concerto that impressive Japanese student and I were to play together."
For sure, Solomon. I've been doing about a case a week as it stands.
Amazing. Is this really just a railway station?
Railway station or not, I've never seen such an enormous building before.
It's the first time I'm hearing their voices.
And look at all the steam locomotives. This country is incredible.
Look at these two Japanese people with their British accent. Oh boy, my favorite anime? What up, Moz?
I feel like I'm dreaming.
So this is the capital of Great Britain.
So, where to?
Oh, hello.
Climb aboard. I'll take you wherever you want to go.
In that case, the Supreme Court in Whitehall, if you wouldn't mind.
My pleasure.
Remember when we couldn't understand English?
I suppose you're visiting students from abroad, eh?
Yes.
Now we
Thought
speak
so.
fluent English.
Well then, I hope you enjoy your stay. And welcome to the centre of the world, Great Britain's mighty capital, London.
Ah yes, the center of the world, London. But what up, Moz? How's it going? February 9:21 a.m. British Supreme Court Lord Chief Justice's office? What a mouthful. What an incredible place. So imposing. It's almost suffocating. The place is breathtaking. Looks like a fortress. There's some stone buildings like this in Japan now, of course. But they've only been built a few short decades since we opened our borders to the outside world. An authentic example like this has quite a different impact, wouldn't you agree? Far cry from the wood and paper most of our buildings are constructed from. It's certainly unfamiliar. I think there's more to the differences than just the construction material. This place again? The Lord Chief Justice's office, Naruhodo-san. In the Supreme Court of Great Britain. I'm chilling, playing some Smash with Leon. Nice, man, nice. Good luck. Hope you win some games, Maz. Lord Chief Justice. We had instructions to report here at this time if circumstances were different. Just to let the Lord Chief Justice know that we had just arrived from Japan. I hope so too. Kazuma can't. No. Instead, we are here in a different capacity. as envoys to report the news of Kazuma-sama's death. Yes. Having delivered his or her message, envoy's duty is done. So, I have to return to Japan. I want to remain here in Great Britain. I have to take Kazuma's place as the law student selected for the study tour. Yes, which means you need the requisite qualifications as a lawyer. This is what I've been studying for. Here in Great Britain, it is the Lord Chief Justice who appoints lawyers. So that's the second reason why we're here. To have you officially recognized as a lawyer. Oh, I'm gonna be a lawyer?! The only way that we'll be able to remain here in London. I hope I'm up to scratch. Ah, good morning. Sorry to keep you. Yo, what's with this guy's facial hair, dude? Oh. I trust you aren't too exhausted after your long voyage from Japan? Oh, he's got a pocket watch! It seems I'm 1 hour, 12 minutes, and 47 seconds late. My apologies. Oh, no, don't mention it. We're never happier than when we're standing around with nothing to do. How fortunate. So, introductions. I am Male Strongheart, Lord Chief Justice of the British Empire. I'm looking forward. I want to see how this goes because historically, Ace Attorney middle chapters have been pretty bad. This is all going on the comparatively bad, but this is all going off the assumption that there's 5 chapters. And I feel like a little mouse under an elephant's foot. Come on, Mr. Naruhodo, don't be a mouse. Oh, it's an honor to meet you, Lord Chief Justice Strongheart. I am Ryunosuke Naruhodo from the Empire of Japan. Well, Mr. Naruhodo. Welcome to London, the capital of our glorious British Empire. Ah, yes. Thank you. In verse, right? Okay. So, what are your impressions of our capital so far? How do you like London? Oh, I've been so nervous ever since I got here that I can't remember a single thing about the city. It's simply splendid, isn't it, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh. I had a wonderful view of some of London's streets from the carriage on the way here from the station. Everything is so impressive and grand. I must say, I'm almost lost for words. I'm glad to hear you like it. The city boasts tramways, piped water and gas, even cables supplying electricity. We spearhead every revolutionary technology. We spearhead every revolutionary new technology in the world. Every visitor to London is astounded. Oh yes, astounded is the word. Saving me there, she said. And everyone seems so jolly and full of vigor. Yes, there's much excitement about the upcoming great exhibition we will be hosting here in London. Great exhibition? Cultural and technological advances from around the globe are to be exhibited here in our great city. It will be the greatest spectacle of its kind in history, and will make Paris's World Fair look like a toy shop. Gosh, I can hardly imagine how magnificent it's going to be. Great Britain's capital city is nothing but magnificent. London is the center of the modern world. Even if you do say so yourself. The sun will never set on our great empire. Don't worry, dude. America's coming. Perhaps it is fate that in these progressive times we welcome visitors from the land of the rising sun. Lord Chief Justice, I think you were expecting a student of law for this study tour, weren't you? Absolutely. A Mr. Kazuma Asugi, if memory serves. That's right. The British government has already been telegraphed a full report on the situation. I understand that the young man lost his life aboard the steamship bound for our shores. Amazing, the news reached him before we even arrived. My country naturally extends its deepest condolences to yours. Oh, thank you. And you're honored Can you honor this appointment specifically to inform me of the news? Yes. We are here in the capacity of envoys from Japan to report the sad news in person. They tell me you Japanese are people of protocol and courtesy. I see that is true. And it is with some regret that I must inform you. The death of the young lawyer means the study tour can no longer proceed. If you would just hear us out, Lord Strongheart. What do you have to say, madam? About the study tour. Mr. Naruhodo here would like to make a proposal. Would he now? Well, Mr. Naruhodo? The moment of truth. Thing is, Lord Strongheart, I was wondering if perhaps you would consider allowing the study tour to go ahead. Don't misunderstand me. Britain would ideally like to see the tour go ahead, without a lawyer from your country. There is nothing to be done. Well, in that case, but if there was someone else, another lawyer from Japan, I mean. There's something I don't know? Only a single lawyer was invited to Great Britain from your country. And that was Mr. Asugi. At least, that is what I've been led to understand. Well, the thing is, this really isn't going well at all! I just can't seem to find the right words to say to this man. Naruhodo! Things here if I'm not careful. What am I going to say? There's someone else from Japan who could be described as a lawyer. It's me! Me! I can do it! That's so. I mean, I don't actually have any qualifications as such, but no qualifications, you say. And you still claim to be a lawyer? I have acted as a lawyer in court before. Only once, as it happens. I had Cosmo help me, and I was the accused. Glossing over the details. I've been spending every spare moment of the journey here in Great Britain studying. I've learned all about British law and court proceedings while I was on board the SS Buria. The voyage from Japan is some 50 days, I believe. Not what you might call a full education. To become a qualified lawyer here in Great Britain, not only do you need a university degree in law, you must also complete several years of training. I realize it's far too short a time period, but I can't just go back to Japan. Cosmo, Mr. Asugi's journey had only just begun. Coming here on the study tour was all he thought about. I have to carry on and do everything he planned to do. I know it must sound like I have an overly inflated opinion of myself. I would do anything to prove that I have what it takes. Any test you care to set to me. Just one chance, that's all I'm asking for. Please! 31 seconds. Opening statement there, Mr. Naruhodo. It was 31 seconds long. Not too brief, not too protracted. Perfectly judged appeal, I would say. Skill that would stand you in good stead. Which is a skill that would stand you in good stead as a lawyer. Oh, thanks. So, you're willing to put those words to trial, are you? Well, I'm all for entertainment, huh? Let me ask you one thing first. Yes? Say you intend to do everything Mr. Asugi planned to do. Are you firmly set on that path? Well, yes. My intention. I see. Imagining things? His expression is altered. Fraction there, just all of a sudden. Very well. You have your wish. I'll give you a chance. A test to become a specially certified lawyer. Whether you pass or fail is entirely down to you. Really? Aw, dude, I'm being tested. Let's go. So, what form will the test take exactly? Tell me, Mr. Naruhodo. What do you consider the role of a lawyer to be? Well, defending people, of course. Well said. So, let's have you defend someone. Huh? Your timing is perfect, in fact. There's an apt trial about to begin later today. No advocate has been appointed for the defense as yet, so this will become welcome news. Okay, straight away? If you manage to secure a verdict of not guilty, you'll have passed my test. It'd be simpler. How do I get myself in these situations? Well, can I ask, what sort of trial is it, Lord Strongheart? Yes, good question. Ah, I remember. It's a murder trial. Of course it's a murder trial! It's always a murder! A murder? An extremely simple case, I understand. You really can't lose. You say? But I should mention, just in case, if the defendant is found guilty, he will of course be sentenced to capital punishment. Capital punishment? He'll be put to death? Here in Great Britain, murderers are sent to the gallows without exception. Presumably, you read that much in your short C-based introduction to British law. He can't possibly agree to such a test. He would be toying with the man's life. I am the Lord Chief Justice, and I've decided it's acceptable. But you can't do that, can you? There's no need to overcomplicate this. All you have to do is ensure that you don't lose. So the defendants may live or die depending on how well I perform in court. I lose, be hanged. Mr. Naruhodo, you've come to me claiming to be a lawyer. If you want me to take you seriously, you need to prove you're willing to do a lawyer's job. And you say you intend to see through the will of your compatriot, Mr. Asugi. I would like to understand just how far you're willing to go in order to make that happen. He's testing my resolve. What's the matter? You've fallen silent. I'm sorry, but time is pressing. Trial begins shortly. I need an answer from you now. What's it to be? I say, do I agree to this absurd test? Of course I will. Alright then. If I have to give you a decision now, my answer is... I can't do it. I can't get the words out. 15 seconds. Your decision making needs work if you want to be a lawyer. That was too slow. So, it's as I suspected, isn't it? Sorry? You have noble intentions, but lack the resolve to see them through. The test is cancelled. Thank you for stopping by. Go ahead and acquire your ticket for passage back to the east tomorrow. This conversation is over. Yes, Lord Strongheart. Thank you for offering me a chance. Oh. Sorry, Miss Susada. What did I do? Right, I understand. You do? An easy decision to defend a man in these circumstances. But resolve has absolutely nothing to do with it. What are you trying to say, madam? I think what Miss Susato means that no matter how badly I'd like to be recognized as a lawyer, stay here in Great Britain, to risk another man's life by treating his one and only chance at a trial is so trivially would be utterly unforgivable, and I feel exactly the same way. I'm sure the defendant won't see this trial as a test, and I'm sure the defendant won't see this trial as a test, as some kind of experiment. A lawyer may fight for his clients in court day after day. For each one of those clients, at the particular day they stand in the dock may be the only chance they have to fight and prove their innocence. No, I was wrong. I'm not qualified to do that job yet. I'm sorry for wasting your precious time, Lord Chief Justice. Wait, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, was there something else? It's approximately 20 minutes by carriage to the Old Bailey from here. If you leave immediately, you should still be there in time. But I just said that I was quite serious in what I told you. The defendant in this case has literally no one to advocate for. What? At this point, he can't hope to find someone to represent him. Trial will begin without a defense. If that happens, there's only one possible outcome. He will receive the most severe sentence the judge can pass down. That's awful! But that is the truth. Why does it have to be like this? Please don't expect an answer to every question. The cold, hard truth of the matter is that there's only one person now with a chance to save this man from a very miserable end. And that is you. There really is only hope? So, what do you say now, madam? Me? What do you mean, Lord Strongheart? You said it wasn't an easy decision to choose whether to defend a man in these circumstances. And I agree. But in my estimation, it is purely and simply a matter of resolve. Oh! Our time is up here. I have a meeting to attend. I must leave in 2 minutes and 16 seconds. So, venture into our great city and enjoy yourselves. That guy is very magnanimous indeed. Gone. The Old Bailey. We're going to do this, Mr. Naruhodo? You must leave at once. London's highest criminal court with the illustrious past, the Old Bailey. This is where I'm to take my test and prove my worthiness as a lawyer. Let's go. This feels a lot more episodic than the other games were, which I can dig. 18th February, 9:45 a.m. The Old Bailey, defendant's antechamber. Oh, thank goodness we're in time. There's still 15 minutes until the trial begins. Never knew a horse-drawn carriage could go so fast. I thought my teeth were gonna let loose. You hear what I said to the driver when we climbed aboard? Get us to our destination in 5 minutes, driver, and there's a guinea in it for you too. It's one of my favorite lines from Herlock Sholmes stories, and it worked quite perfectly. I'm not sure why you're so pleased. I thought we were going to die, and we had to pay gold for the privilege. Well, at least we arrived here before this trial started. Yes, I suppose there's that. Anyway, I don't understand it. The court clerk said the defendant should be here. There's no sign of him at all. Is he just gonna appear out of nowhere? The Old Bailey. Even this room is for defendants. Even this room for defendants is waiting is grand. Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? Feeling tense. The place gives me the same sense of foreboding that I remember from the Supreme Court in Japan. An oppressive air, almost as if the building itself is going to crush whoever is about to get the sentence. It was like only yesterday that I was the one about to be crushed. Yeah. Whoever the man you're about here to defend is, I imagine he's feeling very alone at this moment. Top of the morning to you, madam. Sir. Oh shit! Sick hat! What are yous doing? Following me here? Things are fair desperate, aren't they? Sorry? Would you look at those expressionless faces? From the east, are yous? We're from Japan, yes? Ah, Japan, is that it? Ah, Japan, is it? Right, say no more. So, how much do yous need? No, we're just here because... No need to explain, fella. I've been there myself. So have I. So I have. No place to go, nothing to eat, barely a penny to your name. And all while in a strange faraway land. Well, actually, you haven't found a place to stay yet, no? 'Tis grand, 'tis grand! Let me start by giving yous 1,000 guineas. Say nothing now. 1,000 guineas? Please, Mr. Sado, you don't have to shout. But 1,000 guineas is enough to build an entire mansion in the most prestigious area of Tokyo. What? 'Tis nothing to me at all. I like to ensure I have sufficient funds to weather a rainy day, you see. I'm having trouble deciding on a voice for this guy. I'm just trying a lot and see what works. I have enough wealth to buy a city in London or two or three times over. Could that much rain even fall in one day? Well, even so, we couldn't possibly accept such a... Oh, sorry, wrong person, wrong character. Well, even so, we couldn't possibly accept such a large sum of money. Ah! That hit me in the eye! Don't get me wrong, fella. I ain't giving in to you and no strings attached. I'll be wanting you to do something for me. Oh? To be honest, 'tis a little embarrassing. The trial it's about to begin, you see. It's for me good self here. I'll be on the dock. So now, what I want you to do is come along with me and stand there beside me. Officially, you'd be my lawyer, but that's just a little detail now. Oh, well, the thing is, don't worry about a thing. Don't worry about a thing. All you have to do is stand up there next to me, nothing more. Otherwise, you see, the trial is going to start without me having any kind of representation at all. But it was true. The Lord Chief Justice wasn't just making it up. I'm terribly sorry to have to ask, but does that mean you're the defendant in this trial? Because I think this guy's supposed to have like an Irish accent, but I can't do it. Bluster and blazes, do yous not know who I am? Me, I'm one of London's biggest names. No, sorry, we've only just arrived in the city, you see. I see. I suppose it isn't altogether impossible. Well, just next to Hyde Park there in the center of London is another beautiful park. Sorry, a park? What? It's called McGilded Park. McGilded Park. Full of blossom and flowers in the spring of singing birds and whatnot. Alright, he's gonna have a New York accent now because I cannot do an Irish one. I donated to the city, so I did. An entire park in central London? A city of smiles. That's my vision for London. There's nothing Magnus McGilded wouldn't do for the city and its queer old people. That's amazing. I mean, really extraordinary. Ah, but now they've the gall to say I'm a good-for-nothing criminal. Me, Magnus McGilded. What is the matter with London police? I ask you. All right, don't pass out, Mr. Naruhodo. Perhaps now would be a good time to introduce ourselves, while the gentleman catches his breath. Good idea. Mr. McGilded, the thing is, we're actually here in London to study British law. We're law students on a study tour from Japan, you see. So, if you don't have a lawyer for the trial yet, then you'd be happy to put yourself in our hands. We'll do our best. What was I after saying, you daft Egypt? Wait, what was I after saying, you daft Egypt? I was about to give you 1,000 guineas to stand up there next to me, haven't I? Well, yes, but I wasn't really offering just to stand there next to you. Oh, I think I see what's going on here. Sorry. I know what you're thinking. This chance of a fella claims to have more money than the Queen. If that's true, why the blazes can he hire the finest lawyer in all of England? Because he did it! That's the only explanation! Well, well... Not at all. Not at all. Although, it is a little strange to be honest. Why you don't have a lawyer, I mean? That would be the fault of the Reaper. Sorry. No, the New York accent doesn't work for this. I cannot do an Irish one. Did he say Reaper? I'm gonna keep trying and... I, the Grim Reaper from the Bailey, and Lord Barock van Zykes. He's the prosecutor. Try sounding like a Joker goon? Dude, I don't know. Mods, this is hard. I'm sure it needs to be Irish, but I cannot do an Irish one. The prosecutor is the Grim Reaper? Italiano. Alright, well, we'll try it, Mods, we'll try it. When Van Zyke stands to the prosecution, they call the accused his sacrificial lambs. And to this day, in every single trial in which he's been in the prosecutor, the accused has been damned. What? Doesn't feel right. So it reached a desperate situation where there's no one willing to stand the defense against this fella at all. You could say he's a living legend in the Old Bailey. Goodness. Lord Barak von Zykes. He must be an exceptionally talented prosecutor then. Talented isn't the word you're looking for, madam. It's cursed. Cursed? What on earth? The defendant is summoned and his counsel. Please make your way to the courtroom. The trial is about to begin. Counsel? That would be me. Oh, it is time. Well then, fella. Don't let me down. But I don't know anything about the case. You haven't told me what happened. Until you showed your face here. I'd made up my mind, so I had. Sorry? I decided I'd have to defend myself in there. How would that have worked? Well, dude, we did it earlier. But then you made an appearance. A student of law, wouldn't you know? It's no accident, I can assure you of that. 'Tis fate. So don't get cold feet now, please. I literally know nothing about the case. Or about this man who stands accused. In fact, the only thing I know is that I can't just turn my back on him. Mr. Naruhodo. Man has no one. He'll have to stand alone in that courtroom, armed with nothing to defend himself. Yes. Something that Kazuma would have never allowed to happen. Counsel for the defense, what are you doing? If you're late for the start of the trial, you will lose your right to stand. I'll be right there. What's happening there? First trial in the British court. You're watching over me, Kazuma. Because I have no idea how I'm going to manage this. I wonder what the judge looks like. 18th February, 10 o'clock a.m. The Old Bailey courtroom. Whoa, look at that esteemed panel! So this is the highest court in Great Britain. Bailey. Centuries of history and displays. It's palpable, isn't it? So different from the Supreme Court of Japan. It feels both imposing and serene at the same time. The atmosphere almost makes words redundant. Whenever the country, determining a person's guilt or innocence is always a solemn affair. May I say something, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, yes. What? Oh. He's looking nervous. Eyes look ready to pop out of your head again. I know, but I just can't help it. Oh, look at the judge! Look at that hairpiece on him! I like this judge. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here today to determine the guilt or innocence of Mr. Magnus McGilded. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is fully prepared. Be the Reaper of the Bailey. He really does look fully prepared to dispatch his next poor victim. He looks like a vampire! Counsel for the defense. You appear to be Eastern. Do you speak English? Huh? Oh, yes, of course, sorry. Asked if the defendant was ready. Couldn't be further from ready if I tried. Those eyes please me, Nipponese. They shroud your fear, your doubt, trepidation. They run wild, clinging to some phantom notion of courage. The quintessential look of a sacrificial lamb. A cold shiver just ran down my spine all of a sudden, all the way to the tips of my toes. Now, Mr. McGilded. Yes, my lord? Stand accused of murder, a capital offense. You could be seen to the gallows if found guilty. Are you quite sure you wish to entrust your defense to this foreigner? I've always said, my lord, 'tis a grand thing to give opportunities to the young. Even if the fella is a student from some little island far off in the Far East, it is not the British way to ignore the dangers of yourself and give those less fortunate a chance. I'd like to think that acts of chivalry do the great British Empire proud. Listen to Mr. McGilded, what a fine gentleman London has in him. You'd think he'd donate 5,000 pounds to the government the other way? Mother, please can we go play in the McGilded Park? It seems as though everyone in the public gallery is firmly behind Mr. McGilded. That's definitely welcome news. He certainly has a way with words. I'm surprised he couldn't convince anyone to defend him. Eloquently put, Mr. McGilded. A most laudable sentiment. And now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm sure I need hardly remind you that you 6 members of the public have been selected for your impartiality. Are you ready to proceed? We have a jury? Yo, this is new shit right here. Yes, my lord. If the task is to send rotters to the gallows where they belong, I'm more than ready. At the matter, his lordship always says we should dispose of rubbish properly. Naturally, I agree. Ha! Any criminals here will soon be wishing they never set eyes on me. Oh, he's got a flask. That guy's drinking on the job! I feel a chill. Oh, don't mind me, my dears. I'll just be getting on with my knitting. Must finish these mitts for my grandson. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo, those people are... A jury, yes. Something we don't have in Japan yet. That's right. I've only ever heard about it. And here in Great Britain, the court's final verdict depends on the opinions of these 6 jurors. The judge passes sentence according to the law, but the jurors determine the guilt based on common sense. So the defendant is ultimately judged from 2 completely different viewpoints. How exactly do the jurors give their verdict? That I don't know yet, but I'm sure it will become clear as the trial progresses. Yes. Prosecutor Van Zykes, my lord. It's been a number of years since we've seen you here in this courtroom. I thought you'd renounce your fame. I'm known as the Reaper for the Bailey. I'm known as the Reaper of the Bailey, my lord. Infamy rather than fame I would say. But yes, 5 years have passed since I last spread my wings in capacity. This man is a vampire! So, what brings you back? There's some change of circumstances in which the court should be aware? I leave that to your imagination. So the Reaper out of action for 5 years. Why do you have to choose today of all days to make a comeback? Don't lose heart, Mr. Naruhodo. As you wish, sir. The court nevertheless welcomes your return. Now then, opening statements, I think. A summary of the case, if you please. Certainly, my lord. As your lordship is aware, this is a case of an overwhelming simplicity. Must be the only ones here who aren't aware. Oh, he has a scroll! The incident took place in the late evening, 3 days past. The hour was some minutes after 10. The victim was a maker of building bricks known in the community as thrice-fired mason. Sorry, thrice? He was a very accomplished craftsman. The bricks he fired were said to be almost indestructible. The victim's corpse was discovered in an omnibus in service to the streets of London at the time. A dagger had been thrust into the victim's abdomen. It is believed to be the ultimate cause of death. Here is the autopsy report from the investigating medical office at Scotland Yard. Thank you, counsel. I shall accept the photographic evidence. Autopsy report has been. Let's go. And there's also oh, this one's in color. And one further item of evidence. The prosecutor wishes to submit these as well. And these are, good lord, Is that blood? Oh, what the fuck you say? Counsel? Yeah, is that blood counsel? Yes, my lord. Seized by a policeman who arrived at the scene. These gore-soaked gloves were taken from the hands of the accused when he was arrested. What? Mr. McGilda's gloves had blood on them? Yes, I will accept these as evidence as well. Defendant's leather gloves! Yeah, let's go. How did I get into this? I'm backed in the corner before I even started. Continuing. According to the driver of the omnibus, there were only 2 passengers traveling inside his vehicle at the time. 2? Obviously, one of the passengers was the deceased brickmaker, Mr. Mason. The other was the accused, Magnus McGilden. Well, rather damning circumstances to say the least. Defendant, what say you? Well, of course, I have no recollections of such a thing. Mr. McGilden, to be sure, I rode the omnibus that evening. But whenever I'm in a carriage, I take a fierce tiredness and I always succumb to it. Are you claiming to have been asleep? 'Tis the motion of the carriage, my lord. Lilting so it is. And when I open my eyes again, it was a desperate sight before me, the body of a man I'd never laid eyes upon before in my life. Now I ask yous, what good-hearted soul wouldn't crush to help a fella bleeding up from his stomach? I wasn't about to start worrying about me gloves now, was I? I reached out to give the man a hand. Did the blood got into the gloves then, after the man had been killed? Unfortunately, that statement of the drivers, is the only the beginning. What? That's not all of it? There were multiple witnesses to the precise moment at which the brickmaker was fatally stabbed. Ordar! 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 When the killing took place, only the victim and the accused were inside the carriage. And there were witnesses to the crime. Not just a case of compelling evidence. It's the nail in the coffin for the accused. Thank you, counsel. The circumstances of the crime have been made quite clear. I think we will hear testimony from these witnesses first of all. Which is my command. Bailiff, bring the witness in. Bring the witness in at once. House, multiple witnesses. Witnesses, state your names and occupation. My name is, well, everyone calls me Beppo. I drive an omnibus in the East End. Bruce Fairplay. I'm a banker in the city. My name's First. Lady First. I make hats for gents. I knew I'd be getting a comment from Maz about the name Beppo. I love Beppo too. D, dude, yeah, dude. He's part of the D clan, dude. D stands for D's nuts. Let's begin by confirming the facts. 3 days ago, short time after 10 o'clock in the evening, all of you present in the stand were in an omnibus, witness to the aforementioned. I can't believe we have a Beppo and a D in this witness stand. Is that correct? Yes, sir. Quite right. Yes, sir. That's right, sir. Very well then, let's proceed to your formal testimonies, please. Each of you will tell the court precisely what you saw. Dude, he's gonna die with a smile on his face. Y'all know it. It was the last bus of the evening, so I had few customers. I remember it well. The victim and the man accused of killing him were sat next to each other inside the bus. Then, out of the blue, the accused just reached over and plunged a knife into his guts. That's right. He stabbed him. I screamed. I did. I couldn't help it. As soon as I heard this, I stopped my bus. And then I saw it too. Unambiguous testimony. Exactly right. Men witnessed the incident in the omnibus with their own eyes. I'd like to ask a question, if I may. Miss Counsel? Well, this testimony makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. None. Ace Attorney fans and One Piece fans. Ace Attorney fans of One Piece, sick. For real. Well, the incident took place inside a moving car, didn't it? As has been clearly stated from the outset, yes. Well, in that case, how could those two witnesses possibly have seen what happened? There's no way they could have seen inside of a moving carriage. How quaint. I've read that civilization in the Eastern Island nations was a good century behind ours, but you're here in London yourself. Are you really so ignorant to our omnibuses? Huh? Tell me, my Nipponese friend, have you ever traveled in an omnibus? Well, no. We only arrived in London this morning. And no jet lag? That's crazy. No matter. I've arranged for all of us to see for ourselves the actual scene of the crime, that is. What do you mean? The actual scene? How? A carriage is designed to be moved, after all. Presumably you understand that much. Yes. The omnibus which this bloody crime took place is here today, in this very building. Here? What? The entire carriage? Bailiff! Bring forth the stricken omnibus. So that's an omnibus. The omnibus. Can't believe they could bring something so enormous in here. Great Britain's courtrooms are amazing. As you can see, the omnibus is pulled by 2 horses and can carry up to 8 passengers. 4 passengers seated inside in the enclosed cabin, and another 4 in the rooftop deck above. Every Londoner knows the best view of the city's architecture and sights are to be had from the top of it. And I should point out that to our foreign guests, there is a skylight on the roof, allowing a view of the interior from the seats above. Ah, skylight. Oh! The penny drops at last. These 2 gentlemen were occupying the rooftop seats on the omnibus when the murder took place. That is how they came to witness the grim incident. Through the skylight. Ah, that makes perfect sense. Well, counsel, this is a first. In all my years behind the bench, I've never experienced the crime scene itself being brought into the courtroom. There are a number of important clues remaining inside the carriage, my lord. I would like to submit the omnibus itself as evidence. That is the prosecution's wish. Very well, I see no reason why not. The omnibus is hereby formally accepted as evidence. Let's go. Another piece of evidence. I can't believe it. The entire crime scene entered as evidence. Yes, Great Britain is simply extraordinary. I could help myself a lot by giving the omnibus a thorough examination, seeing as it's there. Alright, before we continue with that, let's give the omnibus a good So this is the roof deck of the omnibus. Oh, you must have a wonderful view of London streets from up here. Do people sit way up here on the bitter winter nights and with the cold air rushing past them? And they have to pay money to do so? Can't imagine how cold it must feel. That just made me think of something horrible. Can you imagine being dragged from the city in the freezing cold as a punishment? Perhaps if that is the real price you pay to stay out late. Certainly see the inside of the carriage there's opening for that's for sure. Yes, and there's a lamp in the enclosed cabin, so I'm sure the witnesses would have been able to see quite clearly. That's not good for us. Well, let's open the door and go inside, shall we? This is the scene of a murder. Horrible. Ah, that's a poster for the great exhibition that's due to start 6 months from now. A lot of focus being drawn to the Crystal Tower, the centerpiece of the whole exhibition. Ooh, the Crystal Tower is under construction already, I believe. People all over London must be fizzing with excitement at the prospect of such a grand event. Obvious blood stain here. That's blood that's soaked into the seat. The victim's obviously. Yes, and that seat would be clearly visible from the roof deck. Really stabbed someone in full view of other passengers like that, I wonder? Well, it was after dark, and there was a lamp on in here, so the culprit couldn't see a thing from the outside through the skylight. Whichever way you look at it, doesn't seem like it was a planned attack. He has a handle. Like all sorts of equipment that might be needed to keep the omnibus running. Heating tubs, tools for repair wheels, blankets, horseshoeing tools. So it's a storage compartment for the coachman to keep his things, it seems. Doesn't seem to be any space for passengers to keep their luggage, that's for sure. Well, I don't imagine it would be very convenient for that purpose anyway. I read this. Quite a large skylight, isn't it? Yes, quite large enough to afford a good view of the cabin from the roof deck. And there doesn't appear to be a handle or catch of any section. I suppose it can't be opened from the inside of the cabin at least. Let us continue with the proceedings then. Your cross-examination, counsel. Pray, don't expect this Nipponese Gray to understand the intricacies of a British court's cross-examination rights. Alright. First cross-examination in a British court. Focus, Rinosuke. Focus! The witnesses saw, let's see. Next to each other. Over it. Stabbed from once in the abdomen from a knife whilst jurying, and an omnibus died due to hemorrhaging resulting.
Hold it!
And you saw them through the skyline in the room of the carriage? That's right. When you sit on the top deck, the window's right there at your feet. There was a lamp on the inside, so I had a pretty good view. Two of them were wearing hats. I couldn't exactly make out their faces, but there's not a shred of doubt in my mind that it was Mr. McGilded. How can you be so sure? Well, how can I put it politely? Mr. McGilded is a gentleman of rather small stature. I couldn't have mistaken him for anyone else. Let's not forget. The vehicle came to a halt The only two people inside the enclosed cabin were the deceased Mr. Mason and Mr. McGilded. There's no room for doubt here. Oh, I really wish there was.
Hold it!
You actually saw the exact moment of it happened? Didn't I already testify to that? Or are fair dinkum hard-working city bankers not considered trustworthy these days? Oh no, I didn't mean that. Oh good, I really got his back. I've really got his back up. Perhaps just tell us what you saw. A little more detail of that. My lord? Juror number 3, what is the meaning of this? My mind is made up, my lord. Completely and utterly made up. Made up about what? I don't like the stinking rich. Never have. They're always up to something or other that they shouldn't be. Every one of them. And that little leprechaun of a man is no exception. Well, he can't fool me! There, no point in wasting time listening to any more of this. That is my opinion on the matter anyway. That's precisely what I was about to say. As the foreman of the jury, it is my duty to set a good example to my fellow jurors. Wow, okay, this doesn't look good. What in the... What's happening here? Let me see. Ah yes, it seems that's how the members of the jury give their verdicts. Fire? Apparently yes. White for innocent, black for guilty. As the 6 members of the jury make up their minds about the case, one by one, each will cast a ball of fire into the great scales of justice, as we saw a moment ago. So if those enormous scales fall completely to the black side, does that mean... Let's do our very best to make sure that doesn't happen. Now I'm even more worried than I was before. Very well. The court acknowledges the change in the jury stance. Counsel for the defense, please continue with your cross-examination. Nightmare. Where did you stop your bus? Oh shit, I keep pressing the wrong button.
Hold it!
Stabbed him, you say? He stabbed him, you say? And you were sitting up on the roof deck, weren't you? Yes, that's right, sir. I was up on the roof seat. I remember seeing the little gent sitting next to that fellow that was stabbed. I'd been thinking about a new hat design, you see. I was just absentmindedly... absentmindedly what? Absentmindedly... gazing absentmindedly around. But then I happened to look down upon the sky... down through the skylight. It was sticking right out from his belly. That huge, great knife. A grim sight indeed. Ah! It helped me at all. It looks like they're even more convinced that my calling didn't than they were before. It appears to have made everyone more dubious that Mr. McGilden is telling the truth. That's some evidence to counter their suspicion. Mr. First. Oh, yes, sir. Is this the knife you saw? Oh, good grief, yes, that's it, the very one, sir. Is that? Yes, counsel. The blade that was driven into the victim's belly like a stake through the heart. That is a blade of considerable size, counsel. It is. Furthermore, the scabbard is emblazoned with prominently with a certain initial, the letter M, which seems oddly familiar. Please no. M for Magnus perhaps? Or McGilded possibly? Take your pick. It seems this particular big name in London made a magnificent mistake.
Objection!
But there are M's everywhere. Yes! Like in Mason!
Objection!
Oh, he has a different font for his objection. This blade is far too extravagant for a poor brickmaker to have owned. No, this is a weapon of a murder. This weapon of murder almost certainly belongs to the accused. Ugh. Not conclusive, but certainly compelling, counsel. Murder weapon has been added, yep. My lord, if you'll forgive the interruption. Juror number 2, go on. Mr. McGilded is a pillar of society and a gentleman, and a gentleman's word should be sacrosanct. However, those of us in service know we must accept hard truths. Wait, what are you about to do? Dispose of the rubbish. No! I don't wish to cause offense, but I do like to eradicate all traces of filth and grime. I have painstakingly typed every word and uttered here today, and cross-references all the facts. As such, I am now in a position to draw the only logical conclusion. That's 4 out of 6! Oh, that hurts! That one hurts! Not again. That's 4 out of 6 jury members who've proposed a guilty verdict. There are only 2 left. We've had it every time I press these witnesses for more information. I just make the situation worse. Nevertheless, what we need more than anything at the moment is more information. We're still very much in the dark. We'll just have to keep pressing the witnesses, knowing that more sparks maybe will fly. We mustn't give up hope. We'll uncover something that'll give us a way right back. But alright, I'll keep trying. I can't give up. Keep calm and listen to the witnesses' statements again. Alright, we got the murder weapon here, right? Alright, so when it happened, only 2 people in the enclosed cabin area were the victim. Don't help me. 3 whole people witnessed the man I'm trying to defend do the deed? I don't like to be pessimistic, but we do seem to be in a rather difficult situation here. What's to think here? Is McGilded really innocent? Or could it be... Before we jump to conclusions, our first step should be to gather information. We need to understand the case much better than we do at the moment. Yes, you're absolutely right. Let's listen to the witness statements again, a little more carefully this time.
Hold it!
Yes, I think it was sometime after 10, wasn't it? Oh yes, sir, that's quite right, sir. Yes, and ever so cold it was, sir. Freezing, in fact. And you had 4 passengers aboard at the time, is that correct? Yes, sir. Not all traveling in the same parts of the bus, of course, though, no. But there were no other passengers when the incident took place. None alighted, for example? You're quite right with that, sir. No other passengers like that. Nope, none. Let the scene of the crime. I have to say, the boss insists on running it as he does every evening, the last bus of the day. But I do wonder sometimes, and whether it's altogether worthwhile. Yes, so sorry to say. What do you mean by that? Well, with the being so cold and everything, and only making 20 pence per the run, pence on the run, you see. Yes, I spend that much at the pub on the way home, just trying to warm up again. Poor guy.
Hold it!
What exactly did you see? Oh, well, sir, that would be the passenger, sir. Yes, well, collapsed on the floor he was. And that by the passenger, obviously you're referring to the victim, Mr. Mason, the bricklayer. Yes, and the other passenger had the knife in his hand, like this. By the other passenger, obviously you are referring to the accused, Mr. Magnus McGilded. And then he plunged it down like this, stabbing the other passengers in the belly. What? My lord, I wish to speak. Yes, juror number 5. Do I take it that you, as the master of London Guild of the Coachmen, the idea of a murder being committed on one of the city's carriages is utterly abhorrent to me. It wouldn't be right to make a decision before hearing all the facts, though, I said to myself. But I've heard enough now. The horses have bolted, as they say. No, please just keep an open mind a little longer. Gee up now, Silver Blaze. The finish is in sight. Beppo is a long-standing member of the guild, and I trust what that man says. Oh, thank you, sir. You're too kind, sir. This is too unkind, sir. And now that 5 jurors, now with that, which now means that 5 jurors agree to condemn this man. Madam Jurors number 6. Yes, Steve? What can I do for you? You have heard the testimonies of the witnesses and... Oh yes, I certainly have. Still got my hearing, you know. Then pray tell, why are you yet to pronounce your leaning? Oh dear. Thing is, I'm a creature of habit. I always go to the park around this time of day and sit on a nice bench and get on with my knitting. There's a lovely little park just near where I live. The Gilded Park, it's called. The gentleman donated it to the city, you know. To put a smile into the Londoners' faces. I can't imagine such a fine young gentleman would have in him to take another man's life. He's always doing wonderful things for the city. That's right, a man like that wouldn't stab someone, surely. Mother, may we go to McGilded Park Library, McGilded Public Library later and borrow some more books? How many Londoners live here with their heads in the clouds? Do you people not know what kind of man Magnus McGilded really is? What kind of man is he? The philanthropist, Magnus McGilded, has enough wealth to purchase the entire city he claims to value so highly. But where did all that wealth come from? The client is a Shylock, sir. And one with the very darkest of souls. What? Stolen by the crows? Miss McGilded lends money to at extortionate rates of interest, so his victims have no hope of repaying him. When they default, he takes possessions of everything he owns. He's a vulture that preys on the weak. I've never heard any mention of that before. Your faculties haven't deserted you, I'm sure, madam. So has this thought not crossed your mind? Would a man wealthy enough to buy London in its entirety not have a carriage of his own? What possible reason could this man have had to make use of a public omnibus service? You're not saying that the victim, a poor brickmaker, had next to nothing his name, save considerable financial liability. It will come to us to no surprise that his creditor was the accused Magnus McGilded. But let it also be known that the very day Mr. Mason was killed was the final repayment date on debts. Good gracious! The brickmaker was destitute. He had lost his house. He had not a shilling with which to repay his debts. And in the end, pitiful soul had the very last thing he owned taken from life. By the merciless philanthropist pretender, Magnus McGilded. Believe it. If I might add something briefly. Usido claimed that the victim had been lent money by Mr. McGilded. Where is the evidence to support your claim? Oh, he's got some wine. This dude's a vampire for sure. Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hollow chalice in a court of law. Aha! There it is! Miss Lord Van Zyke's hollow chalice! How can this be considered acceptable? But I find myself in unexpectedly good humor. I had heard ladies from the Far East could show great courage, but I didn't expect to experience it myself. Ah! Yes, as judicial assistant to defense, I am simply doing my job. What a pity that your display of courage is mean. This is the debtor's ledger, which details all monies loaned by the accused. You will find the victim's name clearly recorded. Allow me to present this ledger as evidence. Pray forgive the courtesy of raising my chalice. It goes to the enigmatic East at the same time. A marvelous toast, counsel. I will gladly accept this new evidence. Alright, we got the ledger. Ah yes, 20 guineas. The victim owed a considerable sum. The accused made quite certain he had ample recompense. It would seem I've had the wool pulled over my eyes. Regrettably, madam, that is the modus operandi of the accused. And it's such a pretty little bird too. What a scoundrel! Still, maybe it's all for the best. Ah, wait a minute. Let's think about this. Let's think about this a little before we. I don't stand for nonsense. Oh my god. We just die? The last year is the Good thing she has her book. According to this encyclopedia of British law, when all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are suspended. The presiding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. That is what it says here. The final verdict. It's over then. Oh! There's a footnote though. A footnote. However, the defense... All 6 members of the jury are now in agreement in this case. Allow me to convey my respect with righteous decision. According to the laws of this country, I will now conclude the trial. By delivering my final verdict, I trust that there are no objections. Just tell me one thing. Oh, yes? You're in the middle of saying something. Footnote in your encyclopedia of British law. However, the defense... What did you say next? Oh yes, of course. One moment. All members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty. Court proceedings are suspended, and the proceeding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. Then the footnote says, however, the defense has the right to demand a summation examination of the jurors at this point. Well, might as well do it. Summation? Examination?
Objection!
A summation examination? From which country has that tome you have there been resurrected? Judging from the binding, I would say that book is at least 50 years old. Any modern text on British law would never give such an antiquated procedure a mention. A relic long forgotten, and certainly no longer practiced. You're out of luck. Oh, my armband. Oh, I have the sword! What even is it, Mr. Sudo? The so-called Summation examination. Oh, one moment, and I'll read about it. Would demand the right to You would demand the right to a procedure before you even understood what it entails? Typical Nipponese. Alright, Mr. Naruhodo, I think I understand. It seems that under this procedure, we would be able to appeal to the members of the jury. Do what exactly? Appeal to them to change their leaning and reverse their decision, as it says here that if successful, the proceedings of the trial must be resumed. Make them reverse their decisions. Yes, in times gone by, barristers would use a summation examination to attempt to influence a jury's decision. But that procedure became something of a formality with no practical benefit, really. It rather fell out of use. I wonder why. Because it was devoid of purpose. Changing just one member of the jury's mind would be hard enough, let alone several. No self-respecting defense barrister would even assert his right to try it in this day and age. Still, I don't see any mention of the procedure actually being formally revoked. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that although it may be antiquated and largely forgotten, it isn't yet extinct. What do you think, Mr. Summation examination, our last possible option. We assert our right to carry it out. Do we assert our right to carry it out, or do we admit the fact? Dude, it literally does not hurt to do it. The defense wishes to assert its right to a summation examination, my lord. London is the capital city of the most powerful nation on earth. We have a duty to the world to exemplify the very highest standard of judicial procedure. Summation examinations are an embarrassment that should remain buried.
Objection!
But if it's all right, it's all right. I believe it could prove vital to this trial. The defense's petition is clearly valid. The court will proceed with the summation examination. Madness. Foreman, are you and the remainder of the jury ready? Eh? Well, I'm not, there was no mention of this in the letter I received, you see, so all members of the jury will be asked to explain on what grounds they have reached their decision. On what grounds? You must all justify your decisions and explain why you believe the defendant to be guilty. Well, my lord, you're rather pulling us on the spot. This is most irregular. No mention was made of this before. I don't really hold with all this justifying, Lark. I seem to have thrown the jurors off. Seems that none of them have experience. Alright then, summation examination. A defense procedure no practicing lawyer has attempted for years, is it? Well, just maybe. It might be the opportunity we've been looking for. Turn this trial around. So be it then. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court hereby calls upon you to state the grounds on which you find the defendant Magnus McGilded guilty of the most serious crime. Judicial findings. Let's go. Jurors' contentions. There was no one else inside the carriage at the time, so it has to have been him. I trust the driver. He has an excellent memory, it seems. 4 passengers with fares totaling 20 pence. He stuck the chap next to him, right? Just like this. Brazen, I must say. Absolutely brazen. I have simply typed and collated all the statements made thus far, and drawn the logical conclusion. You can trust the guild. Fair fares is our motto. We haven't raised prices above 4 pence for years. The scoundrel stabbing that poor man on the floor, it beggars belief. I already found it. One guy fucking contradicted the other. I'm starting to wish I hadn't pushed it down. Some of the jurors don't seem to have wonderfully formed arguments though. Okay. Well, let's see what we can do. We just need to get these 6 people to change their minds. I'll have to throw everything I can at them and use some very persuasive language. Just a moment, Mr. Naruhodo. according to my book, that's not quite how it works. I thought I was going to have to draw their icy minds with some heartwarming rhetoric about the defendant. Unfortunately, jurors have decided the defendant is guilty. They are unlikely to heed anything the defense says. But then they've reached their conclusions by their own reasoning, you see. Your pleas will sound like excuses. In fact, it could recoil on you. The more you try to persuade them, the more entrenched they may become. What on earth am I supposed to do? Oh dear, I'm just citing what I've read about what I read about British law, Mr. North. Right, I'm sorry. Do you have any idea how to make this work then? Well, from what I can understand, the key to this procedure is using the jurors' own words to make your arguments. What do you mean? Well, the 6 members of the jury are randomly selected members of the public. They may appear to present a united front, but the truth is, they are complete strangers who just happen to find themselves here in this courtroom together. And that's the way to break them down, you mean? Yes, exactly. We must listen very carefully to what each member of the jury says, and see if we can identify any contradictory statements. And then contrast the statements and pit the corresponding jurors next to each other. See, so it's contradictions what 2 or more jurors say that we're looking for. In a way then, similar to a regular cross-examination. Oh, yes, I suppose you're right. Find contradictions in their statements and pit the jurors fight against one another. Break them down. Alright, I might be able to pull this off. No, that's not right. I have to pull this off. Can we start the proceedings, counsel? I would like you to take the stand for this. I'm expecting clear and concise rebuttal. Yes, my lord. Oh, I got my sword ready too. There's no one else. No. I already know it was you. £4. 4 pence for years. 4 times 4 passengers would be 16. 20 pence. No, that means there was 5. I bet the baby did it. Dude, there's no baby this time.
Objection!
What up, Jeremy? How's it going? Those 2 statements clearly contradict each other. They do? Explain yourself, counsel. Me? Oh dear, what have I said? It's always, dude, it is always a baby. I swear on Silver Blaze's maiden name, I haven't the first idea of what you're talking about. According to the group testimony we've heard so far, there were 4 passengers on the omnibus on the night in question. And according to the coachman, Mr. Beppo, he took 20 pence in fares. Quite right, I have those precise details typed neatly here in front of me. Even when it's not. Jeremy, you got your head in the right spot. You know, you're thinking outside the box. You gotta think like a crazy man to catch the crazy criminal. Juror number 5 also told us the following. The fare for the omnibus is always 4 pence. That it is. A fair and convenient single price, just the way London's carriages should be operated. But that doesn't add up at all. In fact, it leaves a glaring discrepancy in the facts. Why, man? Why? 4 passengers paying 4 pence each. You think if you do the multiplication, it would be 16 pence. Exactly, as I said, it doesn't add up. The figures are different. By 4 pence, in fact. Or precisely 1 person's fare. 1 person's fare? Yes, in other words, on the omnibus that night, it is distinctly possible that there was another passenger we've heard nothing about. Good gracious, oh dude, his hairpiece came undone. This can't be right. The coachmen of the guild are good, honest men, one and all. Trustworthiness is our watchword. The figures your coachman claims there most certainly do not add up. Your watchword, good sir, is a fallacy. I beg your pardon? Mr. Guildmaster, I think you ought to consider that if this trial were to end now, the news would surely spread all over London. The news that one of your coachmen tried to hide the fact He lets nefarious characters ride his omnibus. All right then, how do I make it so this miserable trial doesn't end? Well, according to my book here, you simply launch a ball of fire into the innocent side to set the scales. Hold on your horse. Hold your horses here, there, coachman. We were all in agreement. Why do you have to go and wait till I get my hands on you, Beppo? Oh, Beppo's being mighty, doing some mighty fishy work right here. Oh, this is all very irritating. That guy seems like he's in a hurry. Begging your pardon, sir. I'm going to do the same. We've tipped the scales in our favor, a little more into our favor. For the love of Mike, not you as well. A penny can be the difference between a smile and a tear after all. I certainly can't put my trust in someone who doesn't follow my acting standards in financial matters. It's time to tip the scales, dude. It is. We're doing it too. Oh, really? I, for one, think it's only proper that we hear from the witnesses again. Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. You did it. We managed to change 2 more jurors' minds. You can force the trial to continue. Actually, is there something else? There is something else that's bothering me about a couple of their assertions. Then that's where you must strike next. You need to put 2 more jurors against each other and show that there's another contradiction in their assertions. Exactly, you can do it. Okay, I did the obvious one. I actually need to read the rest for these other ones. Well, the scales of justice have shifted, but they still weigh heavy on the side of guilt. Counsel, you have the floor again. Continue with your summation examination. I'm changing my leaning to the innocent. I should like to hear from what the subtribute bookkeeper has to say for himself. No one else inside the carriage at the time had just like that chap next to him like this. Brazen, I must say, absolutely brazen. I've been you're on logical. Candle stabbing on the floor begs. I think I need to press the typing girl to find the 2 jurors with contradictory statements against each other. But she's said and done. Is that perhaps why you were... How did you know? Well, I took the liberty of doing some research. In case you happen to find yourself in just such a situation. Shall I read what I found out? A little long, I'm afraid. Yeah, sure, read it. Very well, listen to this. During the summation examination, you will hear the assertions of 6 members of the jury. In this situation, the counsel for defense should use the triangle and pit, impunity. Having done so, you will be able to compare the chosen assertion with those of the other jurors. Corresponding buttons to listen to the other jurors' assertions again. You cannot choose the assertion of the juror you've initially selected. Or can you choose the assertions of jurors who have changed their leanings to not guilty already? Okay, so this is the tutorial. I know. I kind of did this already. I wasn't joking when she said it was long. First step is listen very carefully to what each individual juror has to say. What up, Eddie? How's it going? I'm sure you can see which ones might not quite agree with each other. Then, right away. Get this right now. So I never have to listen to that long, boring explanation again. That's the spirit. Can I press here? I don't want to press you.
Hold it!
What have you been doing all this time? What have you been doing all this? There. I should have thought it was obvious. I'm recording everything that takes place as part of these proceedings. And what have you learned from that? For example, at this moment in time, the judge has used his gavel 11 times total. The prosecution has snorted derisively at your remarks 7 times in total. And I might add, each time you have Stop like that. It's like a symbol. Thank you. Point exactly? So anyway, madam, are you able to explain why you think the defendant is guilty? That conclusion I has drawn as a result of the copious notes I have typed. Clearly, I'm asking you to explain why you've drawn that conclusion. Please don't distract me. It makes it extremely hard to concentrate on my note keeping. Going on. Alright, wait. Grip the chap next to him like this. Going over. Having a poor man on the floor. Stabbing that poor man on the floor. Oh, I got it. Alright, so let's explain, alright? She said stabbing the poor man on the floor. And he said he stabbed him like that. You don't stab a man on the floor like that. That's not the way you go to stab someone on the floor.
Objection!
Those two statements are completely contradictory. What? Explain, counsel, post haste. Oh, dearie me, I was only knitting a jumper for my other half. What's all this claptrap? What does contradictory even mean, I ask you? We've heard from more than one witness that they all allegedly saw the actual moment when the defendant stabbed the victim. Now, out of curiosity, juror number 3. What? Can't you see that I'm busy here? How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim? What sort of motion was it? Huh, wanting to test me, do you? Like that. Like the fellow right next to him without even getting up. Just like the prim banker said. Yes, that was Mr. Fairplay's testimony, quite true. Now then, juror number 6. Oh, is that me, is it? What can I do for you, young man? How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim, madam? Oh, well, dearie, as far as I understand it, it was like this. Stabbed the poor man after he collapsed on the floor. The coachman said so. Don't move. Take a look at those 2 jurors. He struck the fellow right next to him without even getting up. And he stabbed the poor man after he collapsed on the floor. Well, I never. They're stabbing in totally different directions. What? Bless my stitches. What a muddle. Detective Josh on the case? Dude, Detective Josh is on the case. What this tells us, that there's a strong possibility one of the witnesses isn't telling the truth. Oh? But why? Why the dickens would they lie? I don't know that yet. But what I do know, that if the trial ends at this point, we may never find out. We may never know the real truth. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, can you really let that happen in all good conscience? Lies, you say? Oh, dearie me. I cannot abide people telling lies. We've evened the scales. The scales? I don't believe it. I have my sword and everything. I'm ready. Hold it. Wait! Now hear this, my fellow jurors. I warn you, you cannot listen to this man. Look at him in his black suit. He's clearly some devious Eastern sorcerer using magic on us all. Why does a lawyer need a sword? Cause he has the samurai spirit, Maz. If I could use magic, do you really think I'd be putting myself through all this? Answer me this, Dark... Wait, what do you say? Dark Jinx. Huh? Me? He slices crime in half? He really does. I hope I do. What exactly is the problem? What of if 2 of the witnesses have slightly different recollections of the events? What of it? Let's say the Shylock did stab the victim as he was sat next to him in the omnibus, and this young dandy saw him do it. And now let's say the victim collapsed on the floor, and then the Shylock stabbed him again. And this old lady saw him do it. Well, what's to say it didn't happen like that, hmm? Who are you calling a dandy, sir? Why, I should take this knife to you. Who are you calling old? Why, I should take this needle to you. They're ready to kill each other now. But could the foreman of the jury be right? The two witnesses see different moments of the same crime. Out of the question. Wait, let's just double check real quick. Single stab wound to the abdomen. Yeah, no. That's out of the question. Unfortunately, Mr. Foreman. What is it, you dark jinx? Come out with it. What you're suggesting is impossible. It's out of the question. What are you talking about, man? How can you possibly say that? You do realize that I'm only doing my job. As foreman of the jury, I have a responsibility to steer everyone in the right direction. So where's your evidence, man? That's what we want to see. I say the two witnesses saw two different moments of the same crime. If you say that's out of the question, show me with some proof. It's like the only way I'm going to convince him is to present him with something that he can't dismiss. Some irrefutable hard evidence. As you wish. What? I'll give you the proof. It's out of the question that the two witnesses saw two different moments of the same crime, as proven by the autopsy report.
Take that!
This is the victim's autopsy report. According to what's written here, Mr. Mason was stabbed in the abdomen. Only once. Only once? Dude, we got receipts. We're showing him the receipts right now, Jeremy. It's quite simple. The victim was stabbed precisely one time. And we're pointing at him emphatically, which means these witnesses can't possibly have seen it two different times. Oh, what? What happened to the knife? Alright. I concede defeat. Oh, let's go! In our favor. The scales are in our favor now. Wait. That means 4 jurors are now leaning non-guilty. He's like, oopsie, I did a perjury. Yeah, he did. We've done it, Mr. Naruhodo. We've won. What are you playing at, you dandy fool? Shut your trap, sir. No one deceives me. But we had a consensus. I said shut your trap. I know a liar when I see one. And if the chap ever dares cross the threshold of my shop, I'll take this razor sharp blade and shave off every last hair off his head. Please tell me he's a barber. Well, I'm in quite a remarkable turn of events. The defense's summation examination has flipped the balance of the scales of judgment. The jurors now stand at 2 for guilty and 4 are not guilty. Accordingly, there is no longer a large enough majority among the jurors for me to abdicate. And the trial must continue. I hereby ask the defense, prosecution, and witnesses to return to their places. And I call upon all of you to continue to pursue the truth. So, Lord Van Zykes, continue to substantiate the case for the prosecution, if you please. Has a wine glass ready. Oh, he's taking a whiff. Oh shit! Having savored the rich aroma of the carmine contents of this hallowed chalice, it may seem crass to crush it to dust. Pray forgive the discrepancy. Whatever word he said, discourtesy. Lord Van Zykes! Is it cold in here or is it just me? As your antiquated tome no doubt says, the prosecution may not speak during a summation examination. So I honor a deathly silence. Listen to the charade. Seems I overestimated the intelligence of the jury. Well, no matter. There's nothing so hard as to prove this as a self-evident truth. Why else would we grace a court with our presence after all? So, let us proceed to the next round of battle. He took off the cape! Bring forth the witnesses once more. He took off his cape, you know he's serious now. Witnesses, I trust you heard the summation examination we have just had to endure. Oh shit, it's his final form, it really is! Oh, yes sir. I did, sir. Of course I heard it. Oh yes sir, I heard it. You sir, on the end. The coachman, I believe it is. Beppo? Yes sir, Lord sir. If it transpires that that in your previous testimony you are attempting to veil the presence of a fifth passenger on your omnibus, you will be found guilty of perjury, and you are advised to bear that in mind, sir. Oh Dio mio. Now then, witnesses, I hereby call on you to testify before the court again. You will explain the various misgivings brought to our attention by the defense's summation examination. Various misgivings. I only carried 4 passengers that night. I swear it. But well, I for one was told I had to pay 5 pence for them. He filled us on the fare, he did. And then I saw that blood-curdling sight as well. It's all too much. I tell you, I saw McGilded stabbing that man. Everything I said before stands. Oh yes, he stabbed him. Yes, he did. I think so. Yes. Counsel, make sense of this for me, please. The phantom fifth passenger conjured into existence by my learned friend never existed. A confusion has arisen from the coachman's sly little cozenage. Beppo, explain yourself. I'm terribly sorry, Guildmaster. The guild's fare is 4 pence across the board. You know that. Am I to understand that you've been overcharging your passengers by a penny a fare? It's so cold, and the last run of the day is always half empty. You have been dishonest, coachman. I'm sorry. You're a disgrace, Beppo, a disgrace! And your selfish actions have brought dishonor on the entire guild. If I may, sir, I had to pay 10 pence on the bus just last week. What? 4 passengers at 5 pence each is, yes, 20 pence. All I've done the arithmetic 10 times already, but I just can't make the result come out differently. Now that figures. Well, it would appear that one of the aforementioned misgivings has already been explained. So, counsel for the defense, your examination, if you will. You've already had the pleasure of a protracted summation examination today. I see you intend to continue the parlor games. When the arithmetic hit different, dude, the arithmetic did hit different. What up, Kona? How's it going? Absolutely. Dude. Alright, okay. I just need to rest up. Give me a big, let me get a stretch in real quick. Let's press this one. Earlier you testified that you saw the moment when the defendant allegedly stabbed the victim, didn't you? Oh yes, that's right. He said that the victim was on the floor and he described the assailant holding a knife in an ice pick grip. I suppose I might have, yes, put the cart before the horse maybe. What's this? Well, I'm quite sure about most of it. I was driving the horses when I heard a scream from the seats on the roof deck. Oh, I expect that was me, sir. Then when I turned around, yes, I just saw it through the skylight. Through the skylight, a gentleman on the floor, and the knife was sticking out of his midriff. That's right. Yes, the fellow holding the handle was the famous man. Yes. So in short, you didn't see the moment when the victim was actually stabbed at all. I really thought that I did, but when I go over it again in my head, no, I suppose I didn't actually see the precise moment of the stabbing, did I? Oh, and what the fuck is this? Pursue!
Excuse me!
Excuse me? Do you have something to say about that, Mr. Fairplay? Now listen to me. I know what you're thinking. You didn't really see the exact moment the fellow was stabbed. What are the chances of that? Eh? Eh? Are you asking me or telling me? He's getting flustered. I might be able to extract some new information from him if I answer cleverly. Do you just happen to see the exact moment the crime was committed? No chance. Well, it's a little hard to believe, certainly. Unless you spent your time peeping through the skylight on top of the omnibus, that is. Peeping? I'm a respectable city banker, I'll have you know. And I know what I saw. I remember it clear as a Ballard day. It was a grim scene, I don't mind telling you. Thank you, Mr. Fairplay. Oh, excuse me if I was getting a little hot under the collar there, my lord. I would ask you to supplement your testimony with a clear statement about what exactly you saw. Oh, I can do that all right. I'll tell you just how grim it was. Do you think I'd forget the sight of those blood-soaked hands after the butcher stabbed the man? Dude was wearing gloves! God! Blood-soaked hands? Well, I admit soaked might be laying it on a little thick, but anyway, there was definitely blood all over them. Both of them were covered in it. Well, I'm very sorry to disagree, Mr. Fairplay. But that's a little more peculiar. Also, yeah, blood was only on one hand, not both hands. That was the other thing. What? Here are the gloves worn by the defendant, Mr. McGilded, on the night in question. Oh, yes, right. And there certainly does appear to be a sizable dark-colored stain there, but as I'm sure you can clearly see, it's only on the right-hand glove. Ah! In short, Mr. Fairplay, your testimony is inconsistent. Gah! But no, that can't be right. So you're the liar here then. Ah! That's right, you were quite clear about it. You said it was both hands. Grr. Mr. Fairplay, if your last statement was a lie, it calls your entire testimony into question. You say you saw the moment the victim was stabbed, but is that really the truth?
Objection!
It was a simple mistake. You can't justify accusing this man of lying. Yes, it wasn't in both hands. It was only in one, but the fact remains. The victim's body was on the accused. The victim's blood was on the accused.
Objection!
No, Mr. Fairplay categorically stated he saw blood all over both hands, which means there's a strong possibility that this witness was deliberately trying to mislead the court. Yeah, why? Why? I'm a city banker, for Pete's sake. My word should be the gold standard. I'm a gentleman, not some gutter snipe. Upstanding member of society. Prevaricate, sure. Claim to have no reason to lie. But is that really the case? Mr. Naruhodo, if we had some evidence to explain why Mr. Fairplay might be lying, it could turn the tide of this trial completely. Show this man a compelling reason to lie. Oh, let's see the inside of this thing. Portfolio must contain all sorts of secrets of London's gentry. Oh dear! You'd think we ought to look inside? Well, it's not as though we know any of London's gentry personally, is it? Oh, apart from our great detective friend, perhaps. Actually, I wonder. I assure you, we will not find Mr. Sholm's name in sight. Well, let's see what we find. I mean, I can't read any of that, but let's see if they can. Gosh, it's crammed full of gentlemen's names, isn't it? Well, I suppose they're probably not all gentlemen at all, are they? Well, not everyone in this country is well off. Ah, goodness! What is it? Look at this! Do you see a name here? Bruce Fairplay. That means something to me. It does sound strangely familiar, actually. Yeah, Bruce Fairplay, the witness testifying at this very moment! Oh yes, of course, the banker! Why is his name here? Why is his name in here? Ah, he borrowed 20 guineas, did he? Look, the repayment date is fast approaching. Possible, it's just a coincidence, of course, but this could be useful, very useful information. I knew it. I knew his name was in there. I just had to fucking announce it. I have something to show this man has compelling reason for it to lie in this. I have evidence. My lord. Yes, counsel. The defense is ready to present evidence. By Jove, are you sure? Yes, evidence that will clearly demonstrate why Mr. Fairplay had a reason to lie in his testimony. Gah! Very well. I hereby call on the defense to present its evidence. The defense that demonstrates a motive for the witness's alleged deception of the court. Alleged. This is a list of the debtors who owe money to Mr. McGilded. Yes, a list of innocent victims, peopled by the accused extortions. The point is, among the names of these debtors is your name, Mr. Bruce Fairplay. What? Mr. Fairplay, are you currently indebted financially to the accused? No, well, it's barely worth being called a debt. According to this ledger, you owe 20 guineas. Not an inconsiderable sum of money, wouldn't you say? Ah, well, what of it? Let's suppose Mr. McGilded were to be found guilty of murder. What would become of your debt in that case? These documents state that the loan agreement is forged between two individual parties. Therefore, we were the creditor, the defendant here, to be sentenced to a capital punishment. All outstanding debts which were owed to him would be annulled. It would cease to exist. Cease to exist? Mr. Fairplay, is it not the case that you claimed your testimony to have seen something you've never in fact saw, in a devious attempt to annul your debt of 20 guineas to the defendant? Gah! Order! 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 Mr. Bruce Fairplay. Yes, my lord? Let me ask you again, and be aware that your answer may have most serious implications upon your future, sir. Did you or did you not see the precise moment in time at which the defendant is alleged to have thrust a knife into the victim? Your silence speaks volumes. You did not tell the truth in your testimony. All right, now let's not mistake melodrama out of it. Let's not make melodrama out of this. Perhaps I did overstate the truth a pinch. Inch? But it makes no difference. I definitely remember seeing blood on Mr. McGilded's hands, both of them.
Objection!
And yet, only one of the defendant's gloves, which we have here as evidence, is stained. So you keep saying. I wonder if I might be allowed to speak here? Go ahead, Mr. First. Well, the thing is, I think I remember seeing it myself as it happens. What? Blood, sir, on the assailant's hands. I think, yes. I'm almost sure that it was on both of his hands, not just one. What? What? It would appear that we're going to need further testimony from all you witnesses. This time, I would like to know precisely what you did and what you did not see. Do I make myself perfectly clear? Yargs. Mr. Naruhodo, this is good news. The course of the trial seems to have shifted slightly at last. Yes. I'd finally have a chance to turn things around here. What the witnesses really saw. There was blood on both hands of the assailant. I sincerely and distinctly remember that. However, I suppose you might say that I didn't see the exact moment of the stabbing or transpired if that matter. I remember seeing the knife, and I remember seeing both the attackers' hands and blood on them. I didn't actually see anything myself. No, not until I heard that scream. Anyway, the fact remains, there can't have been anyone else inside that carriage, or we all would have seen. Well, lo and behold, in truth of fact, not one of you was witness to the crucial moment of the crime was perpetrated. I apologize, my lord, but honestly, there was no one else inside that carriage. The man's hands were covered in blood. That much incriminating evidence is tantamount to saying we saw the man do it. That's not really what testimony is about. Let's examine the interior of the omnibus once more. Victim's fresh blood is clearly visible on the seat, corroborating with the witnesses' accounts. In other words, there is no substantial nor significant change in the facts of the case. Very well. Your cross-examination, please, counsel. Yes, my lord. Alright, what the witnesses really saw.
Hold it!
You definitely saw that too? Blood on both hands? Yes, sir. I mean, I know what you're going to say. Only one of Mr. McGilda's gloves has any sign of blood on it. That's right. Thing is, as far as I remember, sir, when I looked down and saw Mr. McGilda sitting beside the other fellow, I don't believe he was wearing any gloves, sir. He wasn't wearing these gloves? That's correct, sir. And I saw the blood on both of his bare hands quite clearly. Clear the dark-colored stain on the dark leather gloves wouldn't have been easy to see. I should point out that the police officer who apprehended the accused on the night in question reported that there was no trace of blood on McGilda's gloved hands. Wasn't blood on his hands. This is puzzling indeed. It's significant somehow, I'm sure of it. See anything? Oh yes, sir. That is to say, no, sir, I didn't. I'm very sorry about what I said before, sir. Very sorry. Yes, it was very wrong of me to make up stories and say I saw him stab the man. Well, wouldn't you agree, sir? I know what you're insinuating, but I certainly wasn't making up stories. Still. You saw nothing of it right either. No, sir. I saw nothing at all. Hey, Beppo, you were driving your horses. At the very least, you must have enjoyed a good view of London streets, no? Oh, please. You didn't even see that? It was so cold that night, you see. All I could do is to keep from passing out, sir. Yes, my head was fairly frozen solid, so sorry to say, sir. It would seem prudent to avoid travel on the last omnibus service of London's cold winter nights. Beppo! Ah! Don't try to downplay this. Whether or not you saw the exact moment of the crime is a matter of fundamental importance as well, you know. But for crying out loud, we all know no one else could have possibly done it. I was just trying to save us some time. You have a loan of 20 guineas outstanding with the defendant, do you not? Had you hoped to release yourself from that financial burden by ensuring the defendant was found guilty? That's not entirely not what I was hoping for. I just lost a little guinea or 10 when I backed the wrong horse at the Derby. That's all. I feel you, dude. Sometimes the gamble just doesn't go your way. But I'm all for gambling. You should try to make the money back. I was going to win it all back. There's a fixture this weekend. And that's a sure thing. A little guinea or 10? I'm a banker. No one bats an eye if I borrow a little spending money for the weekend. Man's gambling. I respect them. I think you may have revealed rather more about your character than you bargained for, sir. This witness's scruples are not on trial here. Gonna head out for a lift. God, you and Donald Lerg bros. Dude, later, Kona. Have fun on the lift. If we were to have a group jury, I think we need to have a group trial where everyone is crooked as well. Yeah, Jeremy gets it. Grandpa and the banker. Dude, Grandpa. There's something wrong with the other guy too. We just haven't seen it yet. This witness's scruples are not on trial here. Proceed to the next witness. Is that really how it's supposed to work? I think the only thing.
Hold it!
No, the evidence tells us otherwise. We have the gloves the defendant was wearing on the night in question in the court record. I'm well aware of that, sir, but nevertheless, I know what I saw and I stand by it. The man had blood on both his hands. Fine, even in the face of hard evidence. Steadfastly refusing to admit that he might be mistaken about what he saw. Your reasoning is dire. One hand or two. The salient point remains unchanged. Minutes after the grim crime, the victim's blood dripped guiltily from the accused's fingers. There's only one thing I didn't press yet. Oh, that was that one. Bob. Mr. Fairplay didn't see Mr. Mason being stabbed at all. That's a hugely significant change in the facts of the case. And there's something else that's occurred to me whilst listening to the witnesses' latest testimony. Two of them are recounting what they saw through the skylight in an omnibus roof. I know it's a large window and certainly affords a good view of the inside, but, well, I think perhaps we ought to confirm what they're seeing with our own eyes as much as possible. What do you mean? I mean, we can examine the evidence first on omnibuses here. Courtroom, after all. Idea, we can consider the witnesses while we're looking at them. Head out now, catch you later, Josh. Later, Jeremy. Have fun. See you later. Thanks for watching.
Hold it!
Gotta press this one. And everything you saw of the incident was through the skylight on the roof of the omnibus? That's right. It was fiercely cold that night, but the glass wasn't frosted at all. Oh yes, I remember I was shivering, it was so bitter. It rather begs the question on why the pair of you were sitting on the roof deck in the first place. Well, I don't know about this young fellow, but I couldn't enter the cabin. Oh? Not? It was locked from the inside. I tried knocking, but no one opened the door. It was locked? That's right, and it's a public bus service for pity's sake. That's not what I call fair play. Yes, I had exactly the same experience. I tried knocking. The gent inside just gestured at me to clear off. So I had no choice but to climb up to the roof deck and look down longingly to the warm cabin below. But we can assure you, I wasn't just looking below, I was glaring long and hard. And that's precisely why I tell you with absolute confidence that if there is anyone else in that cabin, I would have noticed. Unequivocal, I would say. Sure about these two witnesses. Could they really have seen everything inside the cabin through a skylight? I might have been able to. Allow me to confirm one thing, Mr. Fairplay. You were riding the omnibus, and to witness the events of the cabin through the skylight on the floor and the upper deck. Is that right? That's right, yes. In that case, there is a portion of the cabin interior that would have been out of sight from you. What? My golly, really? Obviously, at this stage, we can't say for sure. But the possibility cannot be denied. At the time of the incident, there could have been another passenger enclosed in the cabin of the omnibus.
Objection!
Enough hypothetical meandering, my Nipponese friend. The prosecution demands that you substantiate your claims. After all, the source of the crime is here in the flesh. Very well, I will uphold the prosecution's demands. You will identify the area in this cross-sectional panel of the omnibus. Where exactly on the omnibus are you suggesting the potential extra passenger could have been situated? Like right around here.
Take that!
Both rows of seats on the roof face the direction of travel. Whereas the seats are enclosed in the cabin face each other. Which means, if the visible part of the cabin in which passengers on the roof that can see through the skyline is as I've drawn here. Ah, that's right, my lord. As you can see, the seat opposite the one on which the victim and his attacker were sitting is obscured from view. In other words, if someone had been sitting on that seat, it's quite possible that these witnesses would have been completely unaware of it. Ah!
Objection!
It's quite possible some phantom was sitting there. You Nipponese have a foreboding habit of obscuring the truth with ambiguity. I concur with the prosecution's rejoinder. In a British court of law, evidence is paramount. I cannot entertain this conjecture, counsel. That is, unless you're able to put a name to this mysterious passenger to whom you've alluded. And you, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh no. Who it could have been? Who could have been on the other seat, out of sight? Well, let's look at the court record. What do we know here? None of these really catch mine. Let's take a look at the bus again. Let's head on inside. Maybe there's something inside here we missed. It looks reasonably soft, but it's actually rather hard when you sit on it. Only just wide enough for two gentlemen to sit side by side, really. Of course, an English gentleman would be dressed in such finery. It'd be quite impossible for her to climb up to the roof deck, so she would have to be seated in here. A woman in a kimono would have the same problem. Women's clothes are very impractical, aren't they? Huh. I have no idea. Any clues here? Read that earlier. She has a handless. Ornate letter M. Undeniably, Mr. Magnus McGilded's initial. Could be a W. And it's beautifully gilded too. It must be very valuable, I should think. Huh? What is it? Look at this M. If you turn it upside down, it becomes a W. This could change everything. A W? That's one of those, you know, turnabout cases. I'm sure of it. He said the thing! I'm afraid I don't know, but what I am sure of is this is an M. Oh? Well, that idea was quickly squashed. What makes her think it's clearly an M? It could clearly be a W. Let's do the old save. Let's do the old save scum strat. I have to say they have an inkling, right? I understand, my lord. The defense would like to put forward a name. You are a fool. That response was a desperate attempt by a man who has no notion of his own limitations. A toast to hard lessons not yet learnt. Let us not delay, counsel. The defense is still to name the passenger on the other seat. Yet, the chance I've been waiting for to turn my trial in my favor. That night of the murder, the person occupying the seat of the omnibus cabin that was obscured from view was... I really do not like this, huh? I really don't like the... Really not able to do this. Let's just go this guy.
Take that!
The passenger in the enclosed cabin that the witnesses on the roof that failed to see has to have been Mr. Magnus McGilded. Mr. McGilded? What are you talking about, counsel? That's the name of the defendant. That one was kind of just intuition by me. I had no reason. Oh, he broke his wine glass again. If I desecrate this chamber by smashing my hollowed chalice, please forgive my discourtesy. Lord Van Zex. People talk of those tiny island nations in the Far East as having learned and culture of their own. But I see they use the terms ill-advisedly. What are you trying to say? Let me explain the terms that even a student of an artless backwater such as yourself might understand. When the bloody scene unfolded, the victim and his assailant were sitting side by side. Multiple witnesses have already attested to the fact. This is the very premise in which this case is built.
Objection!
But that premise may be wrong. What? If the victim really was sitting beside Mr. McGilded, it creates an inconsistency that cannot be reconciled in any way. What inconsistency, counsel? The defendant's gloves, my lord. Both witnesses made the same testimony. They claim that there was blood on both hands of the victim sitting next to the...
Objection!
Let's see. Both hands of the person sitting next to the victim. Yet we know the truth to be otherwise. Only one of the gloves bears the glory remains. The point is, even in the face of this irrefutable evidence, both witnesses have maintained their stance. Yes, their testimony remains unchanged. Exactly. They both adamantly swear that they clearly remember seeing the victim seeing blood on both hands of the assailant. In short, their memory of the events is correct, and their testimony reveals the truth. If it was somebody else sitting beside the victim that night, a third party we have yet to identify, and the victim's blood was on that passenger's hands, both of them.
Objection!
1 second, everybody. The quick one, my sister was offering food. Had to agree, because it was food. And who was this third party? Obviously, the true culprit. Extraordinary! Order! 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 What exactly are you postulating?
Objection!
The defense's postulation is just that, nothing more than conjecture. The witnesses have clearly stated that they saw the accused.
Objection!
But when elaborating on his testimony, Mr. Fairplay said the two of them were wearing hats, and I couldn't exactly make out their faces. Yes. The tops of their heads were obscured by the roof. I could see the rest of them though. Yes, that's right. Both gents were most certainly hatted. Hatters do tend to notice such things, sir. And what particular styles of hats do the two gentlemen sport, Mr. First? I'm afraid I don't remember. And you call yourself a hatter? The style of hat makes no difference. There was no third passenger on the cabin. How can you be so sure? Because if there had been, the accused Mr. McGilded would have undoubtedly offered to depose the fact. Unless, that is, you're proposing an even more preposterous explanation. That the accused failed even to notice the presence of the true culprit in the very cabin in which he traveled. Ah! Right. There was another person traveling in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus. It's inconceivable that Mr. McGilded would have been unaware of it. Order! There is clear and simple solution to this problem. Bring the accused, Mr. McGilded, to the stand. Well, what say you, counsel? Prosecution objects, my lord. On what grounds? As a suspect, he will have already made a full statement. To the police. But what if there's some reason why he's unable to speak freely? Magnus McGilded is no uneducated ruffian. If it is indeed if it indeed turns out that the man had been withholding information, you can be sure it will have been a most deliberate act. Counsel for the defense, what is your opinion? My lord? Ask me to testify or not. I demand his testimony. Yes, we need to hear what he has to say in order to find out the truth. The defense would like to call Mr. McGilded to the stand. In that case, I would like to hear the opinion of the jury. Yes, I need a little time to consider this. If you ask me, I think we should hear what Mr. McGilded has to say. Get the man out here, I say! It would be utterly illogical not to hear his testimony. When something needs doing, it gets done. That's how I run things at the guild. Hearing what the patron of my favorite little park has to say? Oh yes, that would be lovely. Yes, the jury says the man must be heard. Very well. The court will hear the defendant's testimony. Bailiff, show the defendant to the stand at once. Now maybe what actually happened that night will finally become clear. Let proceedings be resumed. Mr. McGilded, have you been listening to the discourse of the day? To be sure I have, my lord. There are now two matters on which the court desires to hear from you. The first, whether or not there was a third party with you on the omnibus cabin, as proposed by the defense. Second, is that if such a person was indeed present, why did you conceal that fact from the police? My God, begad, no, it is not my nature to hide anything at all. Just answer the questions, please. The truth of the matter is, I've been desperate about this all along. Do I tell yous all, or keep me mouth shut? Tell us what, Mr. McGilded? The fine fellow representing me is absolutely right. In the carriage on the night meet with myself and the other man, there was another passenger. It's true? Aye, and 'twas me who helped the little urchin get away after it all happened. What? No, Magnus McGilded, that convenience excuse can't save you now. I'm truly sorry I am, Lord Van Zykes. I'm sure you'll be wanting to know why I said nothing when I was taken by the police. I do be having a very good reason, I assure you. Which was? Well, the little child just ran into the wrong place at the wrong time. and not in any way involved, you see. What? If the police had known the wee one was there, they'd have assumed she'd done it. They'd have hauled her into this here courtroom just like myself. I was only trying to spare her that. Young hearts and young minds are easily damaged, my lord. And who is this young child of whom you speak? That I don't know. You don't know? Well, the wee ting just happened to be in the carriage that night. I never saw her before or since.
Objection!
We have absolutely no reason to believe this man. The prosecution calls for the witness's statements to be disregarded by the court. No, I wouldn't be surprised if the urchin isn't here in this courtroom as we speak, listening to the proceedings. What? Bang. What the fuck just happened? Ah, smoke! Ah, fire! There's a fire! Look! Someone's trying to get away! After them! It's all yours! I can't see anything through all the smoke! What's going on? Be careful, Mr. Naruhodo. Cover your face. Bailiff, don't let the excuse escape. Secure the omnibus. I hereby call an emergency recess. Bailiff, ensure the defendant is in custody, and clear the courtroom. We were hurriedly removed from the smoke-filled courtroom by the bailiff. Amid the scenes of chaos, as people stumbled over one another in their desperation to flee the chamber. Had no idea what was happening. All we knew was that, for the time being at least, the trial was suspended. What a way to call for a to be continued. So there was a bang and then smoke filled the courtroom. Crazy. All right, so we're gonna call it a stream there. I be getting tired of reading aloud, dude. I be getting tired of reading aloud. But in the meantime, we're gonna go ahead and raid our good friend Agent, that Foo Agent TGC. Playing Mario Kart. I might join him later. I might join him in Mario Kart a bit later. But yeah, I'd like to thank everyone for watching. Been a good time. Special thanks to Solomon for being first today. Good times. Good night. Good night, Eddie. And then, you know, as everyone knows, we always have to end with one last song. Well, now it's time for So Long. But we'll sing just one more song. Thanks for doing your part, 'cause you're real smart, except for you and you. And that guy too. We can do anything that I wanna do. Bye everybody, thanks for watching. See ya. See you next time.